Hey y'all, it's Dare to Sparkle here with a cooking video for the first time. I'm over here making smothered Alfredo shrimp and chicken over baked zucchini. So right now I'm just taking the chicken and I've already pre-seasoned it and I'm just putting it on the skillet so it can cook. And next I'm going to use the shrimp that I already pre-seasoned, which I'll show the seasoning that I used later on in the video, and I'm going to put that on a separate skillet. In this video, I did already cook the baked zucchini. I just put paprika, salt, pepper, garlic, onion powder, and that's pretty much it, and smothered it in olive oil and then put it in the oven for about like 10-15 minutes at 350. Now I did want to say for the shrimp, I did use crushed peppers. You don't have to. I just tend to like my food spicier than normal. You can also add it to the chicken. You don't have to add it. It doesn't make that much of a difference, but it is really good if you do like spicy food. Sorry for the camera adjusting and shaking. It's really hard to cook as well as record at the same time, and my ring light was just so stiff this time, but just bear with me and we'll continue on with the video. Now what I'm doing is just searing the chicken. I'm pretty much cooking it on each side for 3 minutes. I normally try to cook the chicken all the way through before baking it later on. Some people don't. It's up to you on how long you plan to bake it. I normally just bake it for about 10-15 minutes, so I try to cook it as much as possible all the way through for the chicken. Now shrimp doesn't take that long to cook, so you're going to have to alternate between cooking the chicken and cooking the shrimp. The shrimp I had on like 6. Now granted, I have a gas stove. If you have an electric stove, you can put it on medium to high. It cooks relatively fast, but I wanted it to cook a little bit slower so it would be done around the same time as all the chicken being cooked. But yeah, just make sure to watch it because you don't want to overcook the shrimp to make it too rubbery. Now what I mean by rubbery is when you overcook shrimp, it comes off very chewy and it's not really that good. So only for your shrimp, cook it on low. Normally you can cook it relatively fast, but watch it. And when it's done, when it starts to turn pink and starts to shrivel up, then most likely means that your shrimp is done. Now I do want to add, when you're cooking different meats, use different utensils. I use 2 different spatulas or kitchen utensils for the shrimp and for the chicken. You never combine the two, especially when you're cooking it raw. It's nasty, it can be contaminated, and even though you're putting it together, you don't put it together until it's all the way cooked through for both the shrimp and both the chicken. Now the chicken I'm using is this skinless, boneless thighs. I prefer thighs because I like dark meat and it comes off a little bit juicier. You can use chicken legs, you can use wings, you can use breast, whatever part of the chicken that you like. I just prefer the thighs, and I only like the skinless, boneless thighs. Now I have had this recipe without the shrimp, with the skin attached to the thighs, but same difference. It tastes the same, but to me, I'm trying to do a different healthy cake and do it without the skin. So right now I'm just adding olive oil into a glass pan so I can put the cooked chicken in, so I can eventually put it back in the oven and cook it for like another 10 to 15 minutes. Now when I did touch the raw chicken to put it in the skillet, I did wash my hands really thoroughly because I didn't want to transfer the raw chicken E. coli potentially to any other of my food that I was cooking. So just a heads up or an alert, make sure you wash your hands if you're touching any raw meats. So all my ingredients I got from my local grocery stores like Walmart, Food Lion, Harris Teeter, Target. I don't have really a preference. I just normally just grab what I need from wherever's convenient. As well as the pots and pans were from Target. I got them on sale. They're I think the titanium or ceramic pots. I'm not quite sure. But they're really good pots and they cook very nicely on this gas grill. Now, I didn't want to really edit any of this video besides the voiceover because I just want to show how accurate I cook things and how time consuming it really is, and or short time it is. But right now I'm grabbing another pot, a small little sauce pot, and I'm going to use this little pot to make my Alfredo sauce or the smothered sauce. I'm only using a little bit of my leftover cheese. I am lactose intolerant, so I do have to be careful with the products that I use. But I'm using the heavy cream from, I think it's from Walmart, as well as the regular sharp cheese. You don't have to use cheddar sharp cheese. You can use any type of cheese that you like. I just used what I had, and I'm just showing you the seasonings and spices that I'm going to be putting into this Alfredo sauce. Now the paprika I didn't actually use for the Alfredo sauce. I ended up using that just only for the zucchini. But I just wanted to have a disclaimer. I like my food garlicky a little bit. And I did want this sauce to be a garlic based. I didn't want to put too much salt in it. So if you see me shaking a lot of garlic in there, that's just what I was thinking when I was cooking this. And that's how I like it. Now in this process, I am getting the oven ready at 350, as you can see. I just didn't want to adjust the camera to show it, but the chicken is pretty much cooked mainly through. It may be a little bit of pink inside, and baking it, it's going to cook the rest of the chicken and make it really nice and juicy. So what I'm doing is just putting the rest of the chicken into the glass pan so I can put it in the oven. And right now I'm just preheating my oven to make sure it's hot and ready. Now here's where the sauce is being made. I normally would cook it or make the sauce in the same pan as that I made the chicken, but this time I was being a little lazy and I just wanted to make it in a different pot. The chicken grease I normally would use, or the chicken leftover extract would be normally used in this sauce, but I was using the chicken seasoning anyway, so I was like, it's fine. So I'm just gonna pour this whole carton of the heavy cream into the pot. I have the pot cooking at 6, between 5 and 6 for the gas stove. It normally cooks pretty fast. You don't want it to overcook, and when you add the cheese, you want it to be a little bit thick. It takes a little minute, even after you add all the spices and seasonings to it. But just be patient. The cheese is going to make it a little bit thicker, and the milk part is going to bubble up, so watch out for that. like I said, you don't have to add the crushed peppers. Like I said, I just like mine a little bit spicier. But I added a lot. Normally I don't add this much, but I was in the mood for something really spicy, so yeah. And be careful with the thyme. It's very strong, so I only had like a little bit in there. It could be overwhelming of the sauce. You're gonna constantly have to balance it out with other seasonings if you use too much, so just monitor it. You'll see later on in the video I did have like a spoon to taste what it was tasting like. I did end up adding the cheese. I only added like a little bit of cheese because I didn't want it too thick and too like creamy and like gooey. I wanted it more liquidy so it would really smother over the chicken and the shrimp. But yeah, just taste it as you go. Don't put too much, or don't assume to put too much of one specific spice. Just taste it as you keep going, and then see if you like it. If you don't like it, then you'll figure out when you taste it what to add next. Now while I was making the sauce, I was constantly stirring it because I wanted to make sure that the ingredients was equally mixed within the sauce. I just basically kept watching it. Sometimes I would let it sit for a little bit and cook and then stir. So you're going to constantly be stirring it because you don't want it to be like clumpy or like too liquidy or whatever. You can make the sauce based off of your preference, but yeah, that's just how I liked it. So now, since the oven is ready and it beeped for me to go ahead and cook whatever I needed to cook, I'm putting the chicken that I had already seared and putting it in the oven. Now in this situation, I'm just playing the waiting game after I put the chicken in the oven. Sometimes you can cook the chicken and the zucchini at the same time because they're going to cook about the same amount of time at the same temperature. I just cooked the zucchini first just to make it easier because I wasn't sure if I was going to record this video or how it was going to be recorded. So you can cook the chicken and the zucchini at the same time in the oven at 350. Now here I'm just showing the ingredients I used for the zucchini, the paprika. I think I used salt, a little bit of salt on it. I used pepper, and I want to say that was about it. Oh yeah, a little bit of onion powder and garlic powder. So yeah, these are the ingredients that I used. I just coated it on top, and I used, of course, olive oil to put it in. I used the full sheet over the cookie sheet to put the zucchini on, so I didn't have to wash those dishes. But yeah, pretty much that's all I used, and I just baked it, and it was done. Now the shrimp was done cooking, so I basically turned that off and I just grabbed a plastic spoon and was doing a taste test of the sauce. I was the only one eating it, so if you're cooking this for multiple people, I would suggest using a different spoon each time because that's nasty. No one wants to eat your saliva. But because I was the only one cooking this and making it to my liking, I was able to add certain different ingredients in it to make it to the best sauce that I could possibly do. So now that everything is cooked and ready to go, I'm basically just putting the zucchini in first in this bowl. You can use a plate, it's not gonna do any difference. I just put mine in a bowl because I was gonna eat it while I was watching TV. But yeah, I'm just grabbing the zucchini, and that was like my substitution for rice or pasta when it comes to this dish. And then I'm gonna put 2 pieces of chicken on top of that, and then the shrimp on top of that, and then smother the sauce on top. Now, I do want to say that I have made this sauce with actual garlic clovers. You can do minced garlic. It's your preference. I just was too lazy to cut up the garlic and put it in. But it does have a nice taste to it. You can also cook that with the chicken or the shrimp. I just was being basic, so I just used the garlic powder. But as you can see, everything looks really, really good. And I'm just gonna slightly pour and drizzle the sauce all over the whole dish. I did add some parsley at the end on top of the sauce, and it looks so pretty and so good, and it turned out really yummy. So I hope y'all enjoyed watching this video. Don't forget to follow me on my social media. Everything will be linked in the description box. And as well, don't forget to dare to sparkle.